Hey guys, so this is going to be my review of Barbarian. Now before I get into this, I can't do this review without giving some sort of spoilers, so do be cautious that there are going to be spoilers in this video. Then I'll try and make it so it's not major, but the things I'm going to mention in this review aren't said anything in the trailer because the trailer is so vague. So that is basically your warning. So the main premise of this is basically, if you've seen the trailer you would know, but a woman she booked an Airbnb and it turns out it's been double booked on 2 different websites. So she's like, you know what, I'm just gonna stay with this guy. I mean, I don't know who he is. Like, at first she's a bit cautious about him, and then they kind of get to know each other and she feels relaxed, and it comes across as she kind of has a crush on them. So you're probably thinking them two are the main characters. No, they're not. There's other characters. They're not the main characters either. The main character is, and what I see as the film, how I interpret it is the house is the main character. Yes, it's not a person, it's the house. The reason why I say this, because a lot of it revolves around the house. Now, the way this film is told is very unique, but I kind of I had to wait a while before I did this review because I wasn't unsure how I felt about it. So first off, I'll go to the reason why what I didn't like about it. So, for example, how it's done is it'll get to a tense moment and then it'll cut off. And then it'll cut off to the next character. And basically, there's 2 different plot cuts. So you've got the guy who owns the house, and then you've got another cut of who owned the house before him. So that's why I say it's more of the house is the main character, because the way it's done, it's told about the history of the house. But the only thing I didn't like about it caught when it got to the tense moments, and you're just like, really? And then you're like, I want to get back into it, and when it gets back into it, it's quite slow. It's an 8. Another thing is it's an 18. I don't know why. There's two bits in it that are a bit gory, but it was like, for an 18 I was kind of expecting a little bit more. So I went into it thinking it'd be really scary. When it wants to be intense, it is intense. Don't get me wrong. It's just I wanted it more. It was more of kind of like a thriller, as the storytelling and everything was really good. When I went into it, is not what I thought it was gonna be. It's actually kind of worse. Not worse as in bad, as in oh, it's even more grimmer as to the history and what's lurking in this house. So as a horror movie, it kind of pushes it as a horror. It's scary enough. There are jump scares. As I said, it's more of kind of an intense kind of feeling with a few gory stuff that pop up. But honestly, the 18 was a bit of a push. I get it. To be fair, when they made it, they probably were aiming for a 15, but because it had a few gory bits in it, they probably had to change it to an 18. That's where it came across, because it didn't feel like a full-on 18 film. If you're looking for a really horror, you want to be scared every 5 minutes, it's not a film for that. It's more of kind of an intense builder, and then breaks, and then it builds up again, then breaks, and then builds up, and then, then the action happens. If I was to rate it out of 10, because this has got a lot of praise, and don't get me wrong, I get why, it's unique and everything like that, but as a horror, as it's pushed as a horror, it's kind of debatable. If I was to rate it out of 10, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I don't know, I think 6 is a little bit too harsh. I get what they were doing with the whole thing, but again, it's kind of the trailer kind of misinformed what the film was going to be, how intense the film was going to be. and compared to what it ended up being. I mean, it wasn't as bad as like Crimson Peak. I keep going on about that film, but oh my days, that film, that was the biggest disappointment I've ever seen in my whole entire life. I'm sorry, I'm just putting it. So it's not as bad as that. The trailer didn't misinform too much. It was just not as really intense all the time, which I expected it to be, but it is a very unique telling, and I can understand why it's got its praise, because it is something that I'm not really necessarily seen before. But yeah, that is it for this review, so bye guys.